Welcome to the 2015 Military Recognition Ceremony. My name is Randy Danielson. I'm the Dean of the Arizona School of Health Sciences, and I'll be your host tonight. In the spirit of interprofessional collaboration, I also want to note these nice little cookies on your tables there were made by one of the mothers of our physician assistant student. Very nice. At this time, I'd like to introduce the head table. Standing on my left, actually sitting on my left, I'm sorry, our keynote speaker, Dr. Bill Morgan, Colonel, United States Air Force, retired. Colonel Morgan, thank you. Dr. Craig Phelps, President of A.T. Still University. Dr. Phelps, thanks for being here. On my right is Dr. Kay Kalusik, Dean of the School of Osteopathic Medicine in Arizona. Dr. Kalusik, thank you. Dr. Jack Dillenberg, Dean of the Arizona School of Dentistry and Oral Health and a former United States Navy dentist. Thank you. Dr. Gregory McQueen, Senior Executive Associate Dean for the School of Osteopathic Medicine in Arizona. Dr. McQueen, thank you. Dr. Aaron Allgood, Assistant Professor for the School of Osteopathic Medicine in Arizona and a veteran of the United States Air Force as a major. Let me also introduce and acknowledge some other folks who are here today. Linda McConnell, Major, United States Air Force, retired. Linda, thank you for being here, wherever you're at, back there. Major Phil Merrill, United States Air Force, retired. Phil, thanks for being here. Captain James Port, United States Public Health Service, retired. Thank you, sir. Dr. Todd Hartsfield, Captain in the United States Army Dental Corps, United States Army, served in Vietnam. Sir, thank you for being here. Rear Admiral George Bluespruce, retired, United States Public Health Service. Dr. Bluespruce, thank you for being here. Matthew Kahn, United States Navy Lieutenant Commander. Thank you for being here. He told me earlier that he received a letter today, and as of June 1st, he will become commander. Sergeant David Lopez, United States Army. Captain Dana Porter, United States Army recruiter. Thank you for being here. And Staff Sergeant Kimberly Gonzalez, United States Army recruiter. Thank you. So ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the posting of the colors by the East Valley Young Marines Color Guard and the singing of the national anthem by Miss Megan Brombeck, DO Candidate 2018.
Color Guard. Halt. Color Guard. Right. Ace. Color Guard. Post. Colors. Color Guard, present arms.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the
Color guard, post. Color guard, forward, ouch.
Once again, thank you for the East Valley Young Marines Color Guard. And thank you, Ms. Brombeck. Please be seated. Before we begin today, we pause to recognize those that cannot be with us. To assist with this, please welcome Major Linda McConnell, United States Air Force, retired. Linda.
As you entered the room this evening, you may have noticed a smaller table near our head table. It is set for one. The military cast is filled with symbolism. This table is our way of symbolizing the fact that members of our armed forces are missing from our midst. They're commonly called POW and MIA, which stands for Prisoner of War and Missing in Action. They are our brothers and sisters at arms. They are unable to be with their loved ones and families, so we join together to pay humble tribute to them and bear witness to their continued absence. The symbolism is as follows. The table is smaller than the others, symbolizing the proportion of one prisoner alone against their oppressors. The white tablecloth represents the purity of their response to our country's call to arms. The empty chair depicts an unknown face representing no specific soldier, sailor, marine, or airman, but all who are not here with us. The table is round to show our concern for them is never ending. The Bible represents faith in a higher power and the pledge to our country founded as one nation under God. The black napkin stands for the emptiness these warriors have left in the hearts of their families and friends. The single red rose reminds us of their families and loved ones, and the red ribbon represents the love of our country, which inspired them to answer the nation's call. The yellow candle and its yellow ribbon symbolize the everlasting hope for a joyous reunion with those not yet accounted for. The slices of lemon on the bread plate remind us of their bitter fate. The salt upon the bread plate represents the tears of their families. The wine glass inverted reminds us that our distinguished comrades cannot be with us to drink a toast or join in the festivities today. At this time, we would also like to recognize our brothers and sisters who gave the ultimate sacrifice for their country. They left their families at home and answered the call of their nation. To those who gave their lives in our current theaters and to those who gave their lives in previous conflicts, we will never forget the sacrifices you've made in the name of freedom. Please stand while taps is played, followed by a brief moment of silence so we can remember those not with us today. Let us remember now, and let us never forget their sacrifice.
for the sharing between peoples, for the love of families, friends, and comrades. God, we ask your strength and guidance throughout this day, that we may do our best to serve you and represent our respective posts. Grant your blessings upon this graduation class, each participant, and the challenges that lay ahead. Amen.
At this time, it's my honor to invite to the podium the president of A.T. Still University, Dr. Craig Phelps, for a special presentation to our military graduates. Dr. Phelps.
Dr. Anderson, thank you, and thank you for your service to our country. I think you didn't get a chance to enjoy the recognition. So
thank you.
Dr. James.
Thank you.
I want to thank our deans and our staff members who helped put this together this evening. This is something that we talked about 4 years ago to make sure that we are taking the time to honor our young men and women who are going into the different areas of service to our country. So we're happy that this is a reality. I think each year it gets a little bit larger and larger, and more participation from our faculty and staff. And it's an honor to be able to share this evening with you, kind of before the big hustle and bustle of the next 2 days prior to the big graduation day. So I've heard we've had some people from all the way from South Africa, so congratulations for coming out here, and we appreciate that. And then a young man that grew up in Phoenix and attended Central High School and Grand Canyon University. So we have people from all over the nation and from all over the world, which is really about what A.T. Still University is. It's truly a national university. And A.T. Still served during the Civil War. He was a medic with the North, and part of his ideas for a new type of medicine in America was because they didn't have a lot to do with people back then. And if you've read some of the literature and you've watched some of the specials, more soldiers died from complications of disease than from battle wounds. And there's some very interesting books to read about it for those of you that have that kind of military interest. And today, thankfully, we have one of the highest rates of survival if someone is injured in battle. It's 90%. We just were at the AOMA meeting 2 weeks ago, and we had one of the military leaders that was in charge of improving medical outcomes in the theater in Iraq and Afghanistan come and talk about it. So today, you have a 90% chance of surviving a significant wound in war. Prior to the implication of some of these new strategies, it's about less than 50% survival. So you think about the advances that have occurred in healthcare and will continue to advance because of men and women like those today that are in the service. And thanks to our wonderful faculty and staff who get up every day to make sure that our students are learning, that they're up to date with the latest medical knowledge, dental knowledge, and all of our areas throughout our healthcare professions. And thank you to our wonderful faculty and staff. Randy, because I failed juggling, I'm going to ask you if you don't mind reading the names, and I will have them come forward and hand out a little kind of just token of remembering your time at A.T. Still University. You know, when you're in school, it's kind of the worst place to be, and then when you graduate, it's the best, right? So, at the military, you learn that about your service too, right? All that darn Air Force, that was the best place to ever serve. So, we just wanted to have a little coin. This was designed by the military student group several years ago. And an alumni donated the funds for the coins. And this is, if you know the challenge coin history in the military, if you walk up and two people have a coin and you say, where's your coin? And you don't have it, then dinner's on you or drinks are on you, right? But also in the field, exchanging a coin with somebody might mean that you need something significant. So I remember one speaker we had a few years ago talk about he needed to get a wounded soldier out of the field, on the battlefield. And in order to do that, they needed a helicopter. Well, they went up and they had a challenge coin, not this coin, but another challenge coin, and gave it to the helicopter pilot, meaning that, you take care of us and we will pay you back someday. So the coins have different, significant, both sentimental and actual dollar value when you think about it in that way. So, Randy, I'm going to give that to you because, like I said, I'm not very good.
No problem.
I'm handing these out at the same time.
No problem, sir. So, as I name each graduate, please come forward to get a coin and shake hand with Dr. Phelps and have a photo taken. So, Charles Woodruff.
We're doing a group photo activity.
Okay, that's great. Yes, please stay up here. Melanie Whalen. Amy Trump. Sarah Wheeler. Kevin McDermott. Anthony Slade. William Hargis. Nadia Klassen-Thiber. Randall Seislek. John Heathcote. Stephen Clark.
Good maneuver.
Please stay standing up here. Now's a good time for photos.
That me.
Squeeze in a little bit.
You want us to do 2 rows?
We can, we have time. We cannot. Let's go ahead, we'll make it one 4 row. Good. Smile, Lauren, good job. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you. Stay up here, please. So, and thank you, Dr. Phelps. We appreciate that. We're now going to begin our formal toasts. So, officers, please stay standing while we charge our glasses. So, folks will be coming around, giving you glasses, and I have to tell you, it's sparkling cider in case you were expecting something else. You'll find the toast listed in your program.
Do they need their program?
Yes, on the back of the program.
They're gonna need that to follow along. They need it. Well, good, thank you. Okay, good.
All right, that's good.
Thank you, sir.
I'm not sure we're going to be able to pass the mic around, though, so we'll have to speak up. All right. All right, does everybody have a glass? Thank you. Please stand with your toasting glasses. We ask that everyone please repeat each toast as they are made. And to start it off, I will offer the first toast. So, to the United States of America.
United States of America.
To the President of the United States.
To the President.
United States.
To the United States Navy.
To the Navy.
United States Coast Guard.
To the Coast Guard.
United States Army.
To the United States Army.
To the United States Air Force.
To the Air Force.
The United States Army and Air National Guard.
To the Guard.
To the United States Marine Corps.
To Marine.
To our faculty and to our staff.
Here, here.
To our guests. To our
Here, here.
To our friends and family.
Friends and family.
To all those present who have served our country.
To all those present who have served our country.
To our military graduates.
To A.T. Still University.
To the university. Thank you so much. You can be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, we would also like to recognize everyone in the audience who is currently serving or has served. We ask that you please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your service to this great nation. Please be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, dinner will be served. Our student volunteers will release each table one at a time to the serving area, and we'll be back with you shortly. Thank you. After 45 years of practice, he retired last year. I think it was last year. But always doing things, he returned to school. This week, he'll be graduating from Pacifica Graduate Institute with his master's in counseling with an interest in adolescent counseling. Thank you, sir. Dr. Morgan enlisted in the United States Air Force Reserve in 1968 while in school and entered active duty as the Chief of Pediatrics at Altus Air Force Base in 1973. He returned to the active Air Force Reserve in 1989 and retired at the rank of colonel in 2006. His military education included the Combat Casualty Care Course, Air Command and Staff, Air War College, and Aerospace School of Medicine. It's my honor to welcome tonight our keynote speaker, Colonel Morgan.
Thank you. Well, I know I'm supposed to say Dean Danielson, but we have known each other so long. And we first met each other when in the Air Command and Staff course out at Luke Air Force Base. And about that time, shortly after that, our kids started karate. And so I went to their karate class, and one of the black belt was not only Randy. And we had a time in our practice where one of our physicians got really sick, and we needed a fill-in PA immediately. We called this PA rental service, what do you want, PRN, PA, I forget what the name was. It just sounded good to me. It was Randy. It's like, so we just keep going and going around. And Randy has worked for my former office for a long time, and finally, I think a couple years ago, it just was like, I have too much on my plate and I need to turn my full attention. So that's our background. And I owe my children's resilience to him and my wife. Well, my oops, okay. Anyway, in my master's course, one of the things that I really dreaded but turned out to be just the most stimulating thing ever was we were required to write a thesis. And so most master's programs don't do that because it's a real amount of work for the faculty. But my program does. And so I wrote on something that I'm going to touch on briefly tonight, but my thesis is resilience in physician lives. And so if you define resilience, the simplest way of saying it is it's bouncing back from adversity. That's resilience. So I concentrated on two areas I'm not going to go into tonight, but I think they're really interesting just to mention them because while there's about 10 factors in resilience that have been worked out, and I certainly want to talk to Dr. McQueen more about it because I know this is a mutual interest now. But the two that you have no control over are your infant attachment pattern to your primary caregiver, usually your mother. And there's been another concept that's been really started to be published in 1998 and has really taken off. And this is something that needs to be taught in medical schools on your psychiatry rotations or however you want to fit it in. But it's something called ACEs, or Adverse Childhood Experiences. And that is, there are things that happen to you under 18 years of age, traumas, not necessarily physical, that you have no control over. And so, for example, with infant attachment pattern, the pattern that you develop with your mother, your attachment, that is a template for every relationship the rest of your life. Scary, huh? So anyway, but I mentioned a key word for resilience, and it's relationships. That is your key for your support system and your own resilience. So I'm just going to talk a little bit about, and you can look this up on the internet. It's called, the site is Military One Source. Just look up military family resilience. And the characteristics of resilient families are, number one, they find meaning in adversity. Now, those of you that are going to graduate, you have encountered a lot of adversity through your course of studies. And even as a little child, as an infant, the adversity you encounter, when you successfully negotiate, one resilience builds on another, builds on another, builds on another. You have to have a positive outlook. And, you know, it's that old story about the two brothers open their Christmas presents. Have you heard this? One of them, he opens it and it's a box of horse manure. And the other one, the pessimist, opens his box, his present, and it's a box of horse manure. And the optimist, the kid with the pessimistic point of view says, oh, no one loves me. They give me a box of horse manure. And the other kid, the optimist, says, oh boy, where's the pony? Transcendence and spirituality. To be able to transcend adverse events. And you know, you're going to have them in your life, professionally and personally. And your spirituality will be a big component of that. Flexibility, being able to adapt to change. That's a big part of it, and not just for you, but your family. Being connected to your support system and really working your support system. Now, one of the things that Randy Dean Danielson and I have talked about some is that those of you entering the military, even if you don't stay for your 20 years, you do your obligation and you go on with your life, you get out of the military. But that is a time in your life, like Dean Phelps just said, or President Phelps, that when you're out of it, it's like, boy, that was the best time ever, and when you're in it, it's like, this isn't so good. But the point is, you're in a rare, high group of people. So few people nowadays take that chance, that opportunity to be in the military. And so when Randy asked me to do this speech, I thought, great, can I wear my uniform? Because I retired about 8 years ago. And so to my little bit of humility, I found out a week ago that things don't fit like they used to. These uniforms shrink, I should tell you. So what are your social and economic resources? There's a wonderful book, it's kind of old, but it's called The Millionaire Next Door. And you can buy it on Amazon and for almost pennies now. It's about 20, 30 years old. But it really talks about how most of your decisions, the big ones in your life, in part, are directed by financially how well you're doing. And it's not how much money you make, it's about learning to live within your means. Learning to live below your means and be able to save that money. That may seem ridiculous right now. You're in your mid-20s or so, and it's like, I got all my life. But it's really important that you establish that you're going to live within your means. I can't tell you how many physicians I've seen that haven't done that. And they're chasing the proverbial dollar, trying to get that next big ticket item, whatever they think it is. I'm sure our friends up here have all seen that, and it's really scary. Open emotional sharing. One of the things that was really difficult about the master's counseling program is that you had to get vulnerable. You had to be open to issues that came up. Because as you can imagine, going through a counseling program, you're going to learn stuff about yourself that maybe you didn't like or you didn't know, or maybe stuff that you really like and you think you're great. So that's awesome. But still, be open to learning, be vulnerable, and be able to say, I don't know. And I think that's a mark of a really good physician or dentist, is when they realize what they don't know. So that's the time to pick up the phone, get on the internet, talk to a colleague. Clarity. Resilient families practice clear, consistent, and honest communication. The family members say what they mean and mean what they say. They avoid sending vague messages. They have boundaries. And then collaborative problem solving. I mean, as you know, life's not going to go perfect all the time. And relationships are about compromise. So it really behooves you to learn to work collaboratively, not only in your own families, but with your colleagues. So if you're going to increase your family's resilience, you have to make connections. You need to see crises as not an insurmountable problem, but something you can work on. You have to accept change. You have to have goals. You have to move toward them. And for those of you graduating, I'm sure 4 years ago this looked like a mountain. But just chop it down into little doable bits, and you'll get there. And when you have to take decisive action, do it. Don't hesitate. Don't procrastinate. Look for opportunities of self-discovery. One of the things that I found, and I'm sure that these ladies and gentlemen up here will say, is a medical career, a dental career, if I left anybody out, is it physical therapy here too, or any? Students okay. You're going to have to constantly reinvent yourself. You're going to have to find new areas of interest professionally, and that's okay. I mean, for me, I started out really loving pulmonary and taking care of asthmatics, sick asthmatics. And then you learn there's something else you really like, and you go into that, and you get really good at that. But keep finding challenges. Keep being open to them. Be engaged. Nurture a positive view of yourself. Develop your self-confidence. And keep things in perspective. My sister was a nurse, and she had just the most wonderful saying. You've all been through CPR, BLS, right? Everybody. And of course now we do cardiac compressions, we don't worry about airway and all that other stuff. But Lynn always said when a crisis or, an issue would come up, is it an airway issue? Because airway is the first thing you got to do. And if you don't do airway, back in the old days, you're not going to live. You got to have an airway, you got to get oxygen. So I think that's really helpful to frame it like that. When something comes up, is this an airway issue? What's the priority? No, I just need this. So, right after I retired from the Air Force, there was a lovely photography studio down the road from us that was taking free sitting for veterans. And I thought, well, let's do this. And, you know, I'm getting out of the service, and let's just get one last great picture. And this is it. Beverly. So one last thing, and you're not the last thing, Bev. but that didn't sound right. So I'm just curious, how many of you, obviously the ones with uniforms, but there are more, are going, after you graduate, are going in the service? Stand up. Please stand up. Okay? How many of you have a sibling that has been in the service or is currently in the service? If there's anyone else here that isn't standing, but you have a sibling that is or has been in the service, stand up. If you have a father, uncle, or aunt that's been in the military, please stand up. And I should say mother, I didn't mean to leave out mother. Anybody that's had grandparents that have been in the military, please stand up. So you see, it's really quite special for all of us, and we've all had that experience, and I really applaud those of you who are going to get this experience. So I'll close by just saying that Teddy Roosevelt had a wonderful saying about how to give a speech. Stand up, be brief, sit down.
At this time, we'd like to do the formal administration of the oath of office. All officers of the 7 uniformed services of the United States swear or affirm an oath of office upon commissioning. Would the officers ready to take this oath please come forward and stand in a straight line down near the flag here facing out toward the crowd. At this time, Colonel Morgan will administer the oath of office.
I think you've all heard this before, but let's do it one more time. So you're going to say your name, right? I. Your name? Your real name, not your name. Okay, say your name. Do solemnly swear. That I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. Against all enemies, foreign and domestic. That I will bear true faith and allegiance to the same. That I take this obligation freely. Without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion. And that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties of the office. On which I'm about to enter. So help me God. Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you for your service. Thank you. He's going to do well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. You can stay up here, you guys. That concludes our formal part of the evening. Please stay around and feel free to take pictures with each other, Colonel Morgan, anybody else that you want to take pictures with. And also, please take with you the very nice glass that we have here tonight for this special occasion. And thank you all for being here, and God bless the United States of America.